Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee.
Here's to 150 years of the state we call home.
Hey crew, good morning. It is Monday. It is March 9th. You are watching Peaks2Plains Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Meister here on Mornings with Meister every Monday through Friday morning at 6:30 until we get done what we need to get done. I hope you enjoyed the snow and the rain on Friday. I was a little disappointed that some of that moisture didn't make it a little bit farther east of Pueblo over the southeastern plains than it did. I mean, I was hoping, to get a few more areas in on some of that. But, some impacts out there with some slick roads into Friday evening for sure. Some welcome moisture across the region. And that's good news because I don't really have anything on the way this week. So how are you doing? Hope you are doing fantastic. I was gone late last week. You probably noticed. My wife and I celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary this year. Coming up in the middle of the summer in June. And, because of our daughter graduating high school, we've got a niece that's getting married. We're not sure we're going to be able to get away for that time. So we snuck away to Savannah, Georgia, which if you haven't been there, fantastic place. So I missed out on the snow, but was still covering. That's what's cool about Peaks2Plains Weather here is that, I can still do this when I'm not in the studio. And, it was good to see that moisture across the area, like I said. If you'd like to join me on the show, you can do so here. These are the links that I have. You put these into a browser, and you can just pop on the show here with me. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from a desktop computer, and your camera will turn on, and you can join me here on the show. You can share some comments and ask a couple of things, and I love being able to do it. Peaks2Plains Weather is our weather together. All right, let's jump into a little bit of the forecast here for the start of the week. Obviously different than what we had with the moisture on Friday, and it was nice to see Pikes Peak with so much snow on it on Saturday. Chris used the Send to Matt feature in the Peaks2Plains Weather app in the bottom right-hand corner and asked if these were clouds or if that was snow blowing around. It was snow blowing around on Saturday as we were bringing in some warmer air. It's a cool shot, though, Chris. Thanks for sending that to me. And then Laura lives southwest of Pueblo, and Beulah said when they went to bed Friday night, it was still snowing. And here's what they woke up to at Savage Ranch early on Saturday morning. You see all the blue sky that we had over the weekend. And, nice to get that moisture. There were a couple spots down southwest of Pueblo that had about a foot of snow. And I told you somebody down there would probably get a foot, and that worked out pretty well. Yesterday, it was really, really nice. 65 in Denver and Colorado Springs. Had 70s across the eastern plains, 50s for a lot of mountain areas. Some of the ski resort bases, we were in the 40s yesterday for some of the lower spots. And it really was a good day out there. I mean, fantastic. We had some wind around Walsenburg, some gap flow wind. I wrote about that on Peaks2PlainsWeather.com if you want to check that out. And this morning, temperatures are all over the place. You see, it's 14 in Alamosa. And it's almost 50 in Canyon City, Pueblo, and Walsenburg. So we are all over the place here early this morning. I mean, that's a 35-degree temperature difference across southern Colorado. Many areas, though, are warmer than this time yesterday, and that trend is going to hold through the day today. So we check things out. Sun coming up an hour later than it did last week. 38 in Woodland Park this morning. You can see how we melted a lot of the snow over the weekend. Cascade, it's 26 this morning. Monument, everybody's moving along fine there. Breeze out of the northwest at 7. Pueblo, one of those warmer spots here. Like I said, running 49 degrees here early this morning. And here's how our day shapes up for Pueblo. We'll be in the 60s prior to lunchtime and end up in the 70s later on today as we do get a pretty mild start to the week here. There are a couple things to be aware of over the next couple of days. And I'm going to talk about our extended forecast when we come back. Stay tuned.
Another attorney commercial with big promises? Millions of dollars, practicing law 24 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Let's get rid of the smoke and mirrors. None of that really matters. What does matter? Having a medical doctor as your attorney. That matters.
At Phil Long Ford Motor City, we've been around for 80 years. That's like 560 in dog years. Basically, we're the top dogs of Colorado. And thanks to our deals, selection, and service, we've earned some pretty loyal customers. And our GM Mark, he's the most loyal guy I know. Even after I chewed up his shoe, it was delicious.
Great trucks, amazing deals, and belly rubs for dogs. Come see why Colorado drives Phil Long Ford Motor City. Hey guys, where's my shoe?
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
At least the next several days, we want to talk about our forecast. So here we go. We're focusing on what is happening here with this area of low pressure well off to our south, and then what happens with the northern stream, jet stream here as we head through the week. It's way up there because there's a ridge of high pressure here kind of off the coast of California that's going to be the main driver of our weather. And as we move through today, we're starting warmer than yesterday. We're going to end up warmer than yesterday. Few spots out here in the 80s, well into the 70s for Pueblo, 70 or so for the Springs, and I think we see some 60s show up again today on the valley floors here as it's going to be a warm one. Banjo's barometer, easy to understand, 0 to 10 scale of if it's going to be nice or not. Banjo's got that thing up to a 9 today. He'll be out sunning. We'll have sunshine all day long again. And really the only concern today is the elevation of some fire weather conditions a little bit. And so this is where not only is the fuel dry enough that the local fire departments and sheriff's offices say that, yeah, we should be concerned about fire danger, but we'll have enough breezes and humidity will be low enough in these areas for at least 3 hours today, that from the late morning into the early part of the evening, because again, later sunset here, I know you noticed that yesterday, if we were to get a fire, the weather conditions aren't going to help firefighting efforts. So just something to be aware of here. And you can see as we head into the afternoon, here's 3 o'clock, humidity levels around or below 15%. It's because we're getting downslope flow off of the mountains. And we will have a couple areas, gap flows, where we get some gusts maybe up around 35. But that'll be the exception rather than the rule. A lot of us will be about between 10 and 20 miles per hour today, so just some noticeably breezes, and with how warm we're going to be, they'll be comfortable. Now we move into early Tuesday morning, wind pulls back a little bit, but it's still going to be a downslope flow day tomorrow, out of the west here, and in a couple spots, maybe a little bit gustier than today. What the computer model is picking up out here tomorrow is some virga and maybe some enhanced flow at the surface because of that rain evaporating on the way down to the ground. Here's a look at tomorrow afternoon. Still very, very low humidity. And why is that important? Well, we start to get an increase in some mid-level moisture due to that system that's well off to our south. It does get into New Mexico, so we'll see more in the way of clouds tomorrow. And you see a couple blips here from SkyCast. A couple computer models are saying, hey, there might be a flash of lightning and there could be some showers. Some of them are a lot more excited than what I showed you there. And I picked this one to show you because I just think a lot of it's not going to make it down to the ground with how low that humidity is. So I think some virga possible tomorrow, maybe a virga bomb, like a sort of localized downburst due to some of that evaporation, like I said. So that's something to be aware of. This system's still really far to the south tomorrow. Here's 2 o'clock. I mean, it's around El Paso, Texas, but there is a little bit of energy in the atmosphere. Certainly even if you get a wetting of the ground real quick, we're not going to see anything significant. But as that system moves east, there is a wave here across the northern plains that sends a cold front through on Tuesday night. That will bring one of our noticeable changes here for the week. Tomorrow morning starts off mild again, warmer along the foothills than we'll have out across the plains or in the big mountain valleys, so some temperature variation. Not too different from what we'll have out there today on the temperatures tomorrow as we are ahead of the cold front. But look what happens behind it for Wednesday. We're in the 40s and 50s, solid 25-degree temperature drop. We'll have some breezes out of the east on Wednesday before the temperatures start to warm back up here as we head into Thursday. So you will notice that change, no doubt about that, as we move through the middle part of the week. What I don't have with that thing is any moisture, unfortunately, because we need that in a big way here. I mean, I know we had a couple rounds last week, but we need some more. So let's talk the back part of the extended forecast here, because we are going to see some changes as we move into the weekend with another wave that's on the way. So I'm going to run the precipitation through the next week here from this computer model. And you see some off to our east, you see some to our south with that area of low pressure, you see some up to the north here with the jet stream that is not close to Colorado. What you don't see is moisture close to home. And so our extended forecast, while it has ups and downs from the cold fronts, that's about as exciting as it's going to get. Now, the first cold front, Tuesday night into Wednesday, doesn't last long. Temperatures warm right back up. I think late part of the week, we're again talking about some fire weather concerns, as the breezes will pick up as we move from Friday into Saturday ahead of another cold front. That one drops the numbers again, maybe a little bit more than I'm showing you there. And then what is that in Colorado Springs? Way out into the future there, middle part of next week. Some 80s, perhaps? Yeah. So we revisit tomorrow. I'm not excited about this. Again, just that's upper level system too far away, too dry at the lower levels of the atmosphere. But like I said, I want to reiterate this, maybe some Virga bombs out there tomorrow out across the plains. Tuesday night, here comes that cold front. You see the wind switching around out of the north. That brings in the cooler air for Wednesday. Mountains, we don't experience that. We still have west flow. That's the warmer air. So after that cooler, refreshing day east of the mountains Wednesday, numbers come right back up for Thursday. We're talking 80 again over the plains, and we're flirting with 70, if not getting there in Colorado Springs. Mountain areas through the middle part of the week in the valleys, we don't change all that much. That cold front doesn't impact us. So we get that first system off to the east. We're in northwest flow for the rest of the work week. That does pick up a little bit here as we move into Friday and Saturday ahead of the next wave that you see diving into the northern Rockies. And then as we move into Sunday over the plains. So it's across Montana, it's across South Dakota, it's across Nebraska. It's not close to Colorado. And so in our extended forecast, I don't have any moisture with that one either. Here's what the numbers look like for Pueblo. But I do have a noticeable temperature drop again, maybe Sunday more than I'm showing you there. I'll watch that here for the next couple of days. And then behind that for Pueblo, if I have 80s in the Springs, probably looking at some 90s for Pueblo. So yeah, indeedy, we are going to, with some of the moisture we had last week, I think backyards are going to start really waking up here. I know some of you have had some crocuses coming up in the yard. I've got my, what are they called? Not dandelions. Daffodils are coming up here. I've got some tulips that are working on coming up. So it's going to be real kind of springy around here for times over the next couple of weeks. So that's how it looks, crew. I hope you have a good week. When I was doing the morning show at Fox, this week was super rough on me for the time change. I get up a little bit later now. So, everybody's just a little bit off this week, right? Like if you're a coworker, somebody in your family's not having a good day, give them some grace. That's always a good thing to do. Coming up later on this week, I'm going to start a new segment on Thursday. We're going to do Throwback Thursday We're going to look at Colorado's interesting weather in the history each week for the time of year. So we'll talk about some historic type storms, some records, things to know, interesting things like that. Coming up today, I will post what snowpack is going to look like. I'll talk about that tomorrow because I think over the next couple of weeks, things are going to get a little bit rough over the high country because we're still around historic lows. So there you go. Oh, and as soon as I mentioned the time change, people chiming in. Hate daylight saving time, says Jennifer. Ann is saying the same thing. I'm with you. Not a big fan. And then I'm going to end with this today because here's a little boost to my... You look great. Well, thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that. Very nice of you to say. And Kathy, different Kathy, saying, just love your program. Thank you all so much for being part of Peaks2Plains Weather. Make sure you download the Peaks2Plains Weather app. Make sure you tell your friends about it. It is, hopefully you found some use from that last week, working really hard to try to put detail in there for you and make this the most useful weather forecast around in southern Colorado. If you find it that way, please tell your friends about it. I appreciate it. All right, crew, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow morning on Peaks2Plains Weather here, Mornings with Meister. Have a good day.